Hello folks, welcome back to the channel and thank you for joining me once again. You are most welcome. Today something very unusual. We have had some news coming out of China which I want to talk about, but it also is a video that I suggested I might make a few weeks ago, a couple of months ago now in fact, when I did the review of the Hong Kong model 1/48 scale Lancaster B1 bomber. I told the story about how everybody had been waiting with bated breath and great anticipation for the Wingnut 132nd Lancaster bomber, and this was announced, basically confirmed if you like, 2 years ago at the 2019 Scale Model World International Model Show at Telford in the UK. Now you can see I've got the wing leader Peter Jackson Wingnut wings. It's actually the sample copy of their magazine, which looked really good and I was seriously thinking about subscribing to. And then at that exhibition I took some photographs which I've never shown before, but I took my own photographs on the Wingnut wing stand of the prototype Lancaster 132nd kit that had been built up in various stages, a couple of different versions of it, with the engines out, with the engines in, and the guns are very visible, and the interior was visible on one. And basically they'd really showcased it very well, unpainted of course, in a sort of raw form, as a test shot, along with other things. And there's some other photographs which I think you'll find very interesting, including the Fokker Dr.1 prototype, which we'll talk more about as well, and also some of the prices. They were selling the kits at a discount at the show, and wow, when you see these prices now you're going to wish that you'd bought some, I think. But anyway, first of all we'll talk about the Lancaster concept itself. Now of course this is the show of 2019 when the Hong Kong model brought out their 1/32nd scale Lancaster as well, which was absolutely brilliant, frankly gorgeous. But unfortunately for them, as you'll see when we get into the pictures, Wingnut wings just went a bit further with the added realism. They were really bringing their attention to detail to the party, and they had the stress skin effect, distressed joints and things, and it just had that little bit of extra realism, especially down the side of the fuselage and in one or two of the nacelles and places like that. And it was just beautifully done, and it just, unfortunately for Hong Kong model, whose model is very good, very very good, you know, it's a 9 out of 10 I think, probably for sure, although I haven't reviewed it as such. Wingnut wings just trumped them on the spot. But then of course sadly things moved on and we got this news trickling out, no announcement, but in the spring of 2020 when the pandemic arrived, Wingnut wings basically ceased to exist, and we've never given a proper explanation or details of when it closed. It's only stories that have trickled out from the various employees, and of course they have got now a number of those employees have got together and set up a new modelling company in New Zealand who are about to make a Mark 1 Spitfire, allegedly. And I'm trying to think. It's the Kingfisher, and it's the my mind's gone blank. It's the name of the Kingfisher. It begins with a K. Is it Karora? Anyway, it's the name of the Kingfisher in Maori, basically. The name of the company, and they're going to have a Mark 1 Spitfire. It's going to be Al Deer's Battle of Britain Spitfire, which was made famous on the 24 scale Airfix kit. Anyway, we're digressing slightly, but. So some of them have got together and are starting a new modelling company, which is absolutely great news, and we wish them every success. I'm sure we all want that to be brilliant, and I think this is exactly what the problem was with Wingnut wings. They were so tied into the World War I that they did superbly because of their expertise on the subject, but they didn't make themselves very commercially viable in the long term because it's a very niche market, of course. So they've gone the other way. This a new company with the new employees, who are the ex-Wingnut wings people, have gone straight into one of the most iconic planes of all time, Spitfire Mark 1. Anyway, let's talk about this Lancaster because that's what we're here to talk about today. So, I'm going to show you this. This is, for those of you who haven't seen it, the Wing Leader magazine. I'm going to just zoom you in here so you can see some of the pictures of the prototype of the 32nd scale kit. So, here we go. Peter Jackson on the front, and it's basically talking about the Downbusters Lancaster that they were. They produced a book about it, £30, which looked really nice. I don't know if that was ever published or not. And then we've got there was always talk, of course, that Peter Jackson was going to remake the Downbusters movie, and how we wish he would, because the original movie, at the end of the day, was, let me just zoom you out. The original Downbuster movie was like a movie in, almost mentally, think of it in two halves, I think, because there is the dramatic stuff with Barnes Wallis and Guy Gibson and their interactions, which is Michael Redgrave and Richard Todd, and they were absolutely perfect. Really good. I mean, just fantastic film. But it's only spoilt, this movie, by the effects being so dire. And it was just, it was made in, I think, 55, and it was just the limitations of, technical limitations of special effects at that time, which sadly ruins it, you know. I would actually like to see a version remastered where they just only remastered the special effects. They could even colorise it if they wanted to. But I wouldn't, I've got no issue with anything to do with the acting or the way the story is represented. I think it's brilliantly done, and it's just a shame that the effects were a bit of a letdown. So obviously Peter Jackson did say he was going to remake it. It's never quite come to fruition now. I'm told that partly it's finance and perhaps production issues, but this, we think, is why this Lancaster was created. It was going to be the models that would be used in the movie, with some very 21st century special effects and, you know, CGI subtly wound into it, which I'm sure could have been made to look really, really good. Anyway, let's get back to the book. So that's the background, and that's why Peter Jackson was so heavily keen, I think, on this project. But sadly, it's never actually come to fruition. So he's talking here about the research they did as Peter Jackson in the Lancaster, and that's the Canadian one, apparently. It's a really good book, this, if you get your hands on one of these. I think they change hands on eBay for about £20, but I got it free. It was actually on the Wingnut Wings stand. There you go, Brian Wall. Now, whether he's one of these guys that's moved over to the new company, I'm not quite sure. But he's a 3D modeller. He's examining the inside of the Lancaster. And here we go. You can see the original photos that Wingnut Wings produced. And here it clearly shows this stressed skin effect on the Lancaster. So this is what differentiates it really from the Hong Kong model version. And then again, there's one or two mock-up photos showing the turret in the cockpit, and then we have got some, zoom out slightly, but this is the really detailed stuff which shows you the full concept 3D CAD design that they were going to implement on the model to create what they hoped would be the best kit of all time, and I'm sure it was going to be just that, frankly. I saw it, I'll come back to my photographs in a minute, but I saw it and photographed the mock-up prototype. And I was convinced instantly it was the greatest kit of all time. No argument at all, really, in my mind. So there we go. And here you've got the engines, you've got the nacelles, and this is the bit we haven't seen before, or since, I should say, in terms of the model, the Downbuster version. So you can clearly see that Jackson had his eye on this Downbuster movie, and it was all part and parcel of the kind of concept. Here we've got Brian Wall again, and here he is with the with the actual prototype, which I took the pictures of at Telford. I'm sure I wasn't alone. I think it was a very popular thing that people were keenly looking at, crowding around. You can see there are several prototypes there, different stages, and these basically are the ones that I think were on the stand at Telford. And it goes into quite a bit of detail there, and yeah, there's this, that was going to be the artwork for the kit. And then it just goes on to the rest of the magazine with other features. So that is a bit of the background for you. So it was going to be something quite amazing. Now the one downside with this kit, the only downside that I could see, alright, there are two. There's two downsides. One, it is massive, it's big. I mean, if you've seen the Hong Kong model, you realise it's massive. So I think there's a limitation about, people would want to buy it, but would they? How many will buy it and how many will actually make it? I think that it's quite a small number of people that end up making the kit. I really do. I would have probably bought it, maybe, but no way would I build it because I just ain't got the room. No way. Anyway, I want to talk about the news that came out of, good news that came out of China yesterday. Basically, it's been announced in a slightly strange way, perhaps with some lost in translation English, you know. But it's been announced that Border Model, and you'll recall some of you that I did the Border Model review on the ME109, BF109 G6 a couple of weeks ago, and it was gorgeous, really nice. Very impressed with that kit. Border Model have announced that they have acquired the moulds from Wingnut Wings, and they're going to build this 132 Lancaster with a lot of caveats. And I'll show you the website now, and you can see for yourselves what we have got here. Some other things on here we don't need, we'll just get rid of those, frankly. So, Border Model, this is their website, and here we go, news. And this is announced yesterday. And, well, in fact, it actually says today, because of course they're ahead of us, aren't they, in China, so it's today's date. It said, we are releasing our first 132 second aircraft, BFO-10 Avro Lancaster with full interior. I'm going to zoom in, you don't need to see me for this. Let's zoom you right in so you can see. When we first saw the 3D model and box art of it, we were hooked. Due to the change of events in 2020, actually I'll zoom you out, otherwise this will be a bit meaningless. Due to the change of events in 2020, they mean the pandemic and Wingnut Wings shutting down, we ended up acquiring the moulds for this kit. We spent a year doing more testing, fixing, including making instructions without the original design drawings in order to make this epic kit a success. Well, I hope they do a better job than they did on the 109. They weren't terrible, but they weren't the best. You know, I keep saying this. This is where the Chinese need to put far more focus. Okay. They go on to say, finally we finished it. We contacted the artist, Mr. Mark Postlethwaite, and we purchased the rights to use the painting from him. It will eventually be marketed as the box art for the product. Due to many production troubles, this is the interesting part we should all make note of. Due to many production troubles and mould maintenance issues, which might be that they've had some corrosion of the moulds because they've been in storage for the best part of a year, or realistically maybe 2 years. The product will be sold in limited quantities worldwide and will not be produced again for a certain period of time afterwards. It's a bit strange. This Christmas season it will be available for pre-order all over the world. And then we have the photos. Now this is where it gets interesting. This is where I come in with my photographs and why I wanted to talk about it anyway. Not knowing this news would be announced actually. So we've got photos, not a great one at the beginning, and then we've got some pictures we haven't seen before. Good shot of the flaps here. And then we've got the cockpit. And straight away I'm looking at this, and you'll see in a second when you see my own pictures that it's definitely the same. It is the Wingnut Wings mould, it's no question. Here's the box art, which will form the actual, which is nice. I like that box art, probably better than the Wingnut Wings one actually. I mean, that was the Downbusters anyway, so not suitable for the B1. And then we've got where they've actually been making it up. Obviously, they've obviously done a few test shots and they've actually started building it up, weathering it up. And it does look good. I mean, it looks great, doesn't it? Absolutely fantastic. Can you see this? I'm going to zoom you in. I'm realising I'm talking here, but you're not seeing it so well. So I'm going to just zoom back so you can see these. Obviously, you can go on the website yourself and see them in detail. So that's the front. The flaps. There's your cockpit and your nose section. The artwork. So this is slightly off centre, there's a reason for that, so I can show you both at the same time. And then you've got your turrets, and this is where I'm going to come in with my photos and talk about them. There's no doubt that that's the actual, I think these are the actual mock-ups that have previously been at Telford, I'm pretty sure. There's the wheel, looks exactly the same. Wheels and tyres and the gear. Pilot's seat looks exactly the same, with the same radio, the same harness. Everything looks identical to what it was at Telford. And that's it. So there's not a lot of photography, but you can go and have a look at that. I mentioned that the photo's a little bit offset. That's not me being wonky-eyed with my glasses, even though I do need an eye test. It's because I wanted to show you these other photos that I took at Telford 2 years ago, and we can do a bit of a comparison. Now, for example, the gear. Start with that one, and we can see pretty much there. We can see it's exactly the same mould, you know, no question. So we're not being kidded here. It's definitely Wingnut Wings. The same markings in the tyres. Everything's in the same places. Absolutely identical. Then we've got the turret. We'll get into all these photos properly in a second. I'll show you all these because they are quite funny, some of them. I think you'll find them actually quite amusing. Now then, the rear turret, yeah, that's the front turret, sorry. Where's the front turret? We have it. Fear not, just got to get to it. We'll get there in the end. There it is. Now then, let's bring you in. So you can see straight away everything is as it is. The join even is in the same place. It's exactly identical in every way. So we're in no doubt that this is genuine. It's the real deal. It's the genuine article that was the Wingnut Wings product. Just wondering if I unzoom, I might just bring in a bit more. There we go. How's that? And going back to the other shots, here, this is on the stand at Telford. So here is the made up one that's got the wing sort of with the outer wing outboard section removed on the starboard side. And again, you can see this has not got any engine in here. The engine's been removed and they put them out separately, which you'll see in a second. So yeah, and you can see how big it is. Just look at that compared to the couple that are standing behind. It's big. It's massive. It's a real monster. Here is the starboard side that I just mentioned. That one's got the engine in, so you can clearly see that has got the engine. Let's make this for you now. Let's make it easier. There you go. How's that? So yeah, it's got the Merlin in place there. I mean, these were really right rough and ready. I was actually a little bit disappointed that they looked very hurriedly put together, if I'm honest. But I think that was just the nature of the beast in terms of the speed that they needed, you know. But you can see the cutaway. You can see all the interior, the full. You know, you've got the navigator's position at the back there, radio operator navigator's seats. You've got the gun turret here, which looks absolutely amazing. You've got the bomb aimers, bomb sight here. It's just astonishing, really. Really a work of art, I'd say. It says in development, so just sadly didn't quite get there, did it? Then there's some artwork, and then we've got a few other kits which I'll talk about in a second. So here's the port wing. This one that's got the engine removed. Because I think they're going to supply 2 engines, so it'd be very interesting to see what board would do with this, whether they supply it with full engines, whether that's something that they've been working on. Because I'm not quite sure why they've had to work on it so long, from the way they're talking as though they've had to re-engineer something slightly. So I wonder if they're intending to add engines for all 4 as an option. There are the engines. There's the Merlin. Bit of a close-up for you. Clearly going to be the nicest Merlin ever, even better than the Tamiya one, which is pretty fantastic, if we're honest. You see that in the Mosquito and the Spitfire and the Mustang, etc. And then we've got these are the other shots, from the Handley page, 0400 and the 0100. So we won't dwell on those. But here's the internal shot showing the internal detail. It just gives you a feel for just how accurate it is. And they have, at this stage, they seem to have skipped the detail. I don't know if that was the way the kit was going to be finally here, with nothing there, or just the fact that it simply isn't visible. So they probably just decided it was pointless. Whereas you can see in here, and you can see in here, they went full detail in every respect. Completely the wires, and you know, I think there's a loose, I think it's a toilet there, and so on. But that's really impressive. And here's the rear gun, for the rear gun at the back, and that's you know, that's pretty detailed. It's all there, absolutely incredible, really. Complete with the rear bulkhead and the 2 rear bulkheads, and you see the tailplanes in the background. Just gorgeous. And here's some of the parts. We talked about the Merlins. There's a cookie bomb there as well, a £1,000 bomb, I think that is. That's just off shot. So yeah, very impressive. I was just blown away when I couldn't help but take photographs because there's just so many of them. And of course, there was also, going off the subject ever so slightly, there was also the Fokker Triplane. Now I need to make a comment about this because some of you will have seen my controversial, you might say, earlier videos where I am less than impressed by the way that Meng took this on, of course. Now, the point of the story, which I don't think I've shown you this before ever, I saw the prototype and it looked stunning, like they always do from Wingnut Wings. And, more importantly, there it is. If you look very carefully, you can see it looks absolutely beautiful. There's no warped wing, there's no, twist in it. And if we just flick through, we have got here, if I can find it, look at there, so many pictures. And we're struggling, aren't we? Okay, bear with me a second. It's here. There we go. That's the photo. This is the killer photograph, actually, because it shows the sprue B. This is the sprue that gives all the problems. So I'm zooming in and you can see what I'm talking about. This is the sprue where you have the 3 wings for the triplane. And here, this is the part that on Meng's effort, which when they took it on, I've said before, I'm convinced that they've subcontracted it to serve a lesser company, because it's always, the whole sprue is warped. This is always broken, nearly always, well, certainly most of the ones, I've had 8 of these sprues sent to me, 7 plus the original. Almost always broken here. And the wing is warped, the top wing is warped. And also the sprue is warped. Now, I realise it's difficult perhaps for you to tell just from that photo, but I can absolutely assure you that there was no warpage at all on this sprue, this test shot sprue, at all. Perfect, like they always are. So I'm sorry, there's a lot of people out there that seem to be in denial about this, I think. There's nothing to deny. Most of the kits that have been produced have got this warpage in the sprue, and they've got broken parts. Broken parts are not as serious, but the warpage is a nightmare because it's very thick. I've seen some people have made the kit, I can think of 2 people that have made the kit and done beautiful work on it, but the top wing is warped and it has dihedral. No, that's not correct, it should be completely straight. Anyway, won't get bogged down in this, but I wanted people to see that picture. That is, you can see it says test shot sprue Fokker Dr.1 132, and it was completely perfect as you would expect. Nothing like what Meng ended up producing. And of course the instructions would have been a joy, I'm sure, and Meng's were just dire, really. I mean, they were adequate, is generous, I think, as a word to use, adequate. Just about follow it. No history, no detail, no colour, no help, no nothing. No help with the colours and details of, like Wingnut Wings would produce. Finite information about what things would look like, some examples, blah blah blah. No, nothing. Just like an instruction manual from the 1960s, early 70s. Terrible. Anyway, not going to dwell on that, but I just want people to know one of the reasons why I got so cross about it, because I saw the original prototype test shot sprue. It was absolutely perfect, and Meng couldn't get anywhere near that. It was just awful. So the quality's not the same. Let us hope then, going back to Lancaster, which is what we're talking about really today. Those are the other sprues as well. Again, all perfect, And then there are these other lovely models that were going to come along and never did. But let us hope that if Board Model are taking this on, based on their recent 109, which was pretty damned impressive. Here you can see the Bombay of the Lancaster, which I got a shot of, which is also really, really nice. Now, given that Board's effort was so good, we can only hope that they do a much more professional attempt at recreating this kit than Meng did. I'm a bit mystified by this talk they've got on their website about the moulds, condition of the mould maintenance, and the fact they can only do a short run of them. I think that's a little bit of marketing spin. I think what they're wanting to do is they don't want to produce some kits that are going to cost, well, we don't know. I mean, it was allegedly going to cost 400 to 425 quid. That was the rumour that was going around at Scale Model World in 2019, and that is a huge amount of money for a model kit, a crazy amount, which will put a lot of people off. I'm sure Borders will be much cheaper than that. I think we're looking more like the price of the, what was it, 320 I think for Hong Kong model. It'll be similar to that, I think. Perhaps a little bit more, perhaps 350. Still a lot of pennies, isn't it? A huge chunk of change. But we'll see, we'll see. It does look absolutely stunning now. You know, there's no question about the way it looks and the impression it's giving. I think as any keen modeler will look at that and think, you know, it's the ultimate expression, isn't it, of the model kit. And I think what Board are trying to do is get people to pre-order it so they have a guaranteed return. I don't think they want to go into production and just spew out £350 worth of kit and have them sitting on shelves across the world. They know that it'll have a limited market, and it's a little bit niche. So I think they're wanting to make sure. I'm not convinced by what they say as the reason, but I just think that they want to be sure they get a return and they don't have a lot of stock sitting around, which is understandable. They're a relatively new company, and this is going to be a big risk for them, commercial risk, especially with the uncertainty we've got in the world at the moment. So we'll see, won't we? We'll see. But I think it's absolutely fantastic news. I think that the idea that this was dead and buried was the most tragic thing to happen in the history of modelling, literally. I'm sure many of you will agree. And I think it's we'll reserve judgment till we see it, because we don't want to go down the road of oh, it's great, isn't it wonderful, it's going to be cheaper, blah blah. Well, it needs to be good. It needs to be executed well, very well. And you know, they say they've taken a year on the instructions. Well, I hope they have. I hope they have, because you know, it'll be a first for some of these Chinese companies to really do a really professional job. I'm not holding my breath it's going to be the same as a Wingnut Wings instruction book, or booklet, or brochure as I sometimes call them. I don't think it'll be up to that standard. I think we should be realistic. But it needs to be exceptionally good as an instruction guide for that model, because it's big, it's complex, it's highly expensive. So they must get it right. Must get it right. Anyway, they're saying it's going to be available for pre-order very soon. So if you contact your normal supplier of border models, I'm trying to think who the importer are. I think it's our friends down in Milton Keynes on the tip of my tongue, the people that import for Tamiya Model Hobby, is it? Anyway, forgive me, but you know what I mean. It's the people at the Tamiya importers for the UK. I think it's them. I'm sure they told me that they did border. So it might be worth dropping them an email even and checking it out. But yeah, it's going to be. It would have been nice if they'd have named a price, but I suppose it's going to vary a lot. And we know that in the UK it's going to be the highest price, probably pro rata, in the world. So I'm expecting about £350 to £375 in my head. And if it's less than that, that'd be a bonus. But at the same time, I'd rather they made it £350, £375 and got it right, got it spot on. You know, Wingnut Wings were going to charge you the earth, but they were going to deliver the most premium model kit in history. So you know, you pay your money, you take your choices. It's you get what you pay for. Anyway, enough of that. I thought that would be interesting for you to see. I will just now I've got this one in front. We'll close that one down. I was trying to do this side by side. It didn't work so well, did it? But what we will do, if we can, is I'll just zoom you back in and let you see this in the best possible definition on the website, so you can see what I've been going on about here. Okay, we're almost there. What we have here is, so this is Borders website we're on. There we go. Just repeat what it said again at the end. Due to many production troubles and mould maintenance issues, this product will be sold in limited quantities worldwide and will not be reproduced for a certain period of time thereafter. The Christmas season pre-sales will be launched. This Christmas season, pre-sales will be launched all over the world. So I don't think you're going to get it for Christmas. I think it's going to be spring, maybe Easter next year before you see it. But as you can see, it's pretty impressive. You know, I like those. The flaps have been well represented. And of course, we're looking at Wingnut Wings design and genius here. Border are simply going to produce some instructions, box it, artwork it, and then, you know, distribute it. Does look nice, doesn't it? Does look quite impressive. I think it's a great thing. I don't understand negative on any level on this. I think it's best news we've heard in modelling, you know, since it was first announced. Frankly, it's a gorgeous looking model. And I think that it's a blessing that we are going to finally see it come to fruition. I mean, look at the detail on that pilot seat, you know, the straps and the belts and buckles, trim wheels and adjustments, and the yoke here. Looks brilliant, doesn't it? It just looks stunning. Absolutely superb. Anyway, that's it. So, I'm not the first to, don't think I'm the first to break this news at all, but you can have a look on Border Models website, and you will find the details there, and start pestering your supplier if you really want one. Be nice to get my hands on one of those one day. I'm not sure I'm going to buy it though. I'm not sure if it's really for me, but if anybody wants to send me one along to review, I'll be very, very grateful and very, very careful. I'm only putting the gloves on today because I was handling what's now become quite a collector's item in this, you know. But something to look forward to anyway. So 2021, that's a big sort of Christmas present from Santa to the modelling world, I think. I think we should all be very pleased to hear this news. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you give me a thumbs up. Don't forget, if you haven't already, to ding the notification bell if you haven't, to make sure you get early warning of the next video I produce. There's probably going to be a review, I expect. And until I see you again, I hope this has cheered you up, made your day, this news, especially what you've seen from the images. It looks very positive news, doesn't it? Something for us all to look forward to after some gloomy times. It's nice to have some really good news. Thanks a lot to all of you. Please look after yourselves, and until next time, thanks a lot. Bye for now.